So, man, oh man, the talk of the week, y'all. The talk of the week is a documentary on HBO Max. I think ID if you have cable. I really don't know much about ID as a as a as a station.
Oh, I do. I used to
I
work there.
You know about ID?
Yeah, it's they got a lot going on over there with the true crime stuff. But yeah, you're right. It broadcasts on traditional linear cable ID, but as you said, it streams on Max if you want to watch it.
It streams on Max, and this is Quiet on Set: The Dark Side of Kids TV. And in this particular, I don't know if there would be multiple seasons or not, but in this particular 4-episode string that I have watched, it seems like this particular string is over. It is about the golden age of Nickelodeon, and the people in power, most notably Dan Schneider, who under his reign a lot of weird shit was going on between a lot of things that either weren't good for working conditions with kids or working conditions with women or working conditions overall in or the people that he let onto his sets who are now registered sex offenders, who are registered and convicted criminals, and it's a lot. And that's what this docuseries is about. It's literally taking a lot of people, a lot of the cast who was on all that, the Amanda Bynes show, who was on what's another one of the shows?
Drake
Who was on
Josh.
Drake and Josh. iCarly, even Zoe 101, like all of those shows, taking a lot of the actors and actresses who are on there, and they're giving their spiel about what happened on those sets and how those sets made them feel as child actors. But we also get writers on this show as well who are giving their points of view, and it's some dark stuff. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Like, it is, they hit some points that I think a lot of documentaries, to be honest, would be quite afraid to do. But this documentary does really feel like surviving Nickelodeon. Like, when you're watching it, you're like, golly, what was going on over there? And it's interesting. It's interesting because, like, a couple years ago, this reports about Dan Schneider started to come out. Everyone started to be like, oh my God, Dan Schneider, blah blah blah, put him under the jail. And what's so crazy about all of that is he was like, though he was like the head, it was almost like all the other things he allowed under him too. It's so crazy because we knew about Dan Schneider, but coming into this documentary, I didn't know about all the other stuff that was going down. And this documentary does a really good job of telling you the nitty gritty. It does a really good job of giving you the actual actors and actresses and writers who actually went through this stuff. And yeah, it's dark, but it's also really good. I think we're going through a really interesting and I think important period of time where it's time for people to tell their stories and to be heard and to heal, I think, in that way by having their story be told. Not only that, but Nickelodeon is a soft spot for a lot of us. A lot of us lived in Nickelodeon. And in fact, all of the shows underneath Dan Schneider are like some of the most important shows ever to me. You know what I mean? Like, I watched the hell out of all that. And Drake and Josh and Zoe 101 was literally, these are all like some of my favorite shows growing up. And the documentary does a good job of being like, from a kid's point of view, we were like, this is cool. But as an adult, now that we're all older, and not only are we all older now, but now we have a different sense of what's not okay on different levels. After Me Too, after a lot of companies are trying to clean up their act with what was happening through a lot of these productions, we've all kind of, I think, matured in that way. So this documentary, it's really, again, it's really heavy, it's really nasty, but I can't stress enough how important it is. It feels, yeah, it feels like it's coming, it's needed, but it can be a hard watch. So I had to bring it up. It's really good. I can't. I mean, if you were there for the golden age of Nickelodeon, I don't see why you shouldn't watch it. I think as long as you can make it through, it is a really big trigger warning. A lot of stuff is dark, but I think you should watch it because it does help put context into things and how predators were allowed to and were given the power. That's like the crazy thing about all this, is that they were legit given the power to do a lot of these terrible things on these sets. And again, hopefully it seems like we're moving out of this. Hopefully we're growing from this. We're getting better, but these stories need to be told. So yeah, it's a really good documentary.
Yeah, this particular film is all over the timelines, all over social right now. Everybody's talking about it. It's really catching fire. When I was briefly working there part time, I got a preview of this documentary, and I was like, "Oh, that's going to shake some shit up when it comes out. When that gets released, I mean, they do a lot of the true crime stuff, but when you really unpack a culture and how
Mhm.
a culture impacted a generation of people, our generation in particular, we grew up in that era. Man, it's crazy. It's really crazy. And it's also like Dan Schneider wasn't this hidden figure. People knew who he was.
Exactly. Mhm.
He was semi-famous. He was in these shows, he was characters, he was in Good Burger. Like you saw that guy. He was
Mhm.
constantly around. And so it wasn't just this looming executive in the background. It's like, wait, Dan Schneider from Nickelodeon, who literally made all of that shit for 20 something years, that guy, he's the one that's creating this toxic, terrible cultural environment for these kids. Oh man, it's troubling. It's really troubling. And then you see the other stories that are coming out and all the stuff with Drake Bell, with him being a part of it. I mean, I can't wait to really dive in and watch it in full because all of the strays and all of the extra stuff that's coming out from it, the interviews that are happening, man, it's really wild to see just how many people had to suffer due to just I think the lack of consequences that we just saw a lot of these men in particular getting away with their power, exerting their power. I don't know if you saw Dan Schneider just dropped a whole like 20-minute response interview to everything. He just sat
Oh
down.
Lord,
He
yeah.
sat down with a guy who was on iCarly, one of the black cast members, and
Mhm.
and and they talk to each other. It's like a 20-minute interview through the Hollywood Reporter. I didn't watch the whole thing, but he basically was profusely apologetic about it and talked about how he definitely did some things and there are some people that he actually needs to apologize to and he would like that opportunity. He feels very regretful, but the damage has been done for so long now and to so many people. It's like, well, what is that really worth at this particular point? So it's a shame. It's a shame to see it go down this way, but I think it is important, as you said, that people kind of see the story, see it unpacked in this
Mhm.
way, especially knowing now that, in all honesty, our relationship with Nickelodeon, at least that particular era, it's going to be tainted. It's going to be tainted for life. There's no way to unsee any of this stuff or unhear it, but it's worth it. There's no amount of entertainment in the world that can really substitute knowing the truth. And I think that that's what people really want to walk away with, knowing the truth at
Mhm.
the end of the day. So I'm glad it's out there. I'm glad that it's getting as much conversation as it is right now.